Poverty. It changes people, right? Of course it does. But what but to what length? How far are people willing to go to leave and fix it? Some won't go far, while others will go to a new planet just to find relief. If you were in that spot, how far would you realistically go? As I was reading The Jungle, I learned more on how poverty forces people to change for their families and because of desperation. Poverty is an issue. We see it in our own cities, from homelessness to barely hanging on, paycheck to paycheck, 40 plus hours a week to support their families. It's the folks who are working that change the most. They've seen rock bottom and decide that it's not worth it. 47.5 million families are in the low income bracket. They make less than $24,000 a year. The average is close to 3 times that, at 60,000. Children who grow up like that, they grow into a multitude of things. Some get aggressive and become your high school bully, while others decide that school and life just isn't worth it. They don't see a future in either cases. You also have the ones who try extra hard to get the best grades that they can and try to cover up their home life, so no one will know about it. It's just an embarrassment to them. In the jungle, Jurgis, the main character of the book, moved from Lithuania to Chicago. He and his extended family worked in a meatpacking industry and tried to make a life for themselves. His wife gets sexually assaulted and Jurgis goes to beat him up and ends up in jail. This leads a this leads him down a path of alcohol usage and criminal behavior as he finds out that his wife and both children have died. Jurgis then met up with Jack Duane after running away from Chicago and making his way back, who slowed his alcohol usage. This can be viewed as a parallel to when he was struggling to keep a job and keep his family together. Money was valued accordingly to an entirely different standard from that of people of Packingtown. With Jack, alcohol wasn't a necessity to numb the pain and unforgiving conditions. This gave them freedom and a chance to see the bright side. As soon as he fell again into prison, he then went back to alcohol. Alcohol is an easy escape for struggles in life. Whether it's death to poverty, you are going to find you're going to want to find a numbing agent, no matter how bad or expensive it can be. Low income and discrimination is also a large factor in why people become in poverty. Psychologically, it's hard to get out of the mindset that you will continue to struggle no matter what. After working for years to get nowhere, people can be desperate and turn to crime. The more a family grows, the more deeper it gets into poverty as well, because you have to feed everyone, and children can't work for a while either. That drive to have a healthy and happy family makes people do the unthinkable and go to crime. A lot of stressors cause people to break down and continue their downward slope, with or without their families. Poverty is an issue for society and its people. We lose the value of a human when we see people in crime, stealing your purse or wallet, or even killing others. You see them as foul or worthless, but yet you don't know where they're coming from, what childhood they had, or what they're trying to do to save their family. Poverty brings people to the extreme, and it lets people change. However, it's usually for the worse. Poverty can expand from being poor to being left with nothing. Poverty, people above the poverty line still struggle and can rely that they on that they have their outs, even if it's crime. A lot of us in the room and at home will never see the full extent. You will probably never remember this speech. You will continue to see crime and go straight to seeing worthlessness, while those criminals are seeing their family do better, ever so slightly. Many of you have never been close to poverty, and I hope you don't. Living above the rest, eating all organics, and never touching anything less than a Starbucks coffee. That is the life, the American dream, the top of life. But for some, that's not reasonable. Reasonable is getting the bare minimum and trying to save money in case something goes wrong. The third life, third class if you will, is poverty stricken and does anything to survive. They can't get they don't and can't get jobs at your local Starbucks where you get your pink drinks and your venti chai lattes. They get jobs at schools for a janitor and cleaning positions, hoping to make enough every week. They fill the jobs that you don't want to take, but you rely on daily. poverty-stricken people are not worthless, and the ones who make bad decisions, they're usually not given the same chances or have been poorer from the start of their life. Crimes just happen to fall into their hands as a way out. But when that fails, the family suffers and can have them all die in some cases, as jobs that they fill don't pay enough. That's why crime is an option for them. There is no apparent solution. They all have similar issues in their own ways to get out of the system, which keeps them there. California, a rich state that has one of the highest poverty and homelessness rates in the U.S. Chicago has one of the highest criminal rates in the country. New York, another prosperous state and city, has a high crime rate and poverty rate. No matter how much or little the state is worth, poverty is there, and so will crime. Now I know that you could say they do it to themselves, or they're not worth it. But maybe you see a reason to care, but you don't think you can do anything. There are hundreds of reasons and excuses, but throughout the jungle, you see the true impact of poverty, how it drives people mad and causes them to do abnormal things, such as crime. You see them, you see the turnaround, the happy part, and then the sudden 180 back into despair. Poverty changes you, and it changes how the world sees you and how your peers see you. Just because you were raised in a nice home with nice things doesn't mean everyone does. Some of the people around you right now are in the poverty level. Some hide it while others are too poor to hide it. It changes a person, for the better and for the worst. But just realizing that little fact, that helps change everything for the better.